Made a video earlier that's my personal stuff and talked about a lot of private things. Not really private. I wish in the world that things weren't so private between people, that we didn't feel so vulnerable, that we had to keep things private, that we could share more. I know we'd move on as a human race more rapidly if we shared more of ourselves and were not afraid of judgments and stuff. It would be lovely. My utopia. Maybe that's what I'll talk about today, my utopia. It is quite difficult actually sitting down and just talking without any prompts or things. Maybe I'll write sort of little things, topics that interest me. I think I talked earlier about how difficult it is for women. I don't know if it's more or less difficult being a woman born in the late 40s, where there were, let me get my head around this, basically it wasn't until the late 60s that women had equal pay. Women were seen, I think, in a certain class anyway, as either factory workers or they went into the caring professions. And my sister's a nurse, my mother was a nurse, although it wasn't expected that she worked really at all. I come from a family that were quite well off, but when it got into my mother's hands, she disposed of it very rapidly. We had everything, sort of TVs that a lot of people didn't have early on, cleaners, central heating, big house, very big house, worth over probably £3 million now in Bath. She sold it all up, discovered her emancipation and went travelling around the world. And never owned or even rented property. She discovered that she could basically be a carer for old people in the States and have somewhere to live, and all her food and everything provided for, and spend all her spare time jetting off somewhere else. So I was left as an orphan at 19 to fend for myself, with little financial backing. She gave me a few quid that as 19 obviously I spent on wild men, makeup, God knows, drinking, drugs, becoming a shaker and mover in the Bohemian Society. So eventually got myself back together. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Oh, now we have an aeroplane. Oh, it sounds like an old one as well. Oh, should I get the video? No, it won't work. So women in my era, of my formative era, years, weren't encouraged, and I still see it happening now. It is still very difficult for women to actually achieve what human beings should achieve. And then there's the question, what is that? You know, me wanting to be a missionary and go to Africa was a bit odd, really, I think, then. And then I sort of realised later on anyway that it was males that did it, and the little woman carried on beside them. I mean, there were a few. So now here I am, retired, with a big self-esteem problem about not achieving, not being rich. Not doing what I see women, and I forget I'm a woman, what I see as people doing and achieving in life that I haven't got there, you know, and I've pushed myself all the time. And there's part of me behaving like a human being, and there's part of me behaving like a woman. So yes, the dichotomy of women. I'd love to hear from women that are younger how they feel. Are they fulfilled? You know, can we be fulfilled? You know, we're all different. Even women need different fulfillments. And I think I've sort of needed it all. You know, desperately wanting kids. And I can understand now, or maybe vaguely step into young women's shoes today who go and just get pregnant as soon as they can, because it gives them a sense of identity. It gives them a sense of being a whole person, being a family. You know, when you see a lot of teenage girls sort of living in dysfunctional families. It makes my heart cry, because I think I got at that stage when Mum left, when I was about 19, 20, that I just wanted to get pregnant, to feel like I was whole. I felt abandoned and not whole. And I had the urge, you know, to just have millions of children. I had a dream when I was a kid as well of having millions of children living on a farm with millions of animals. But that's understandable, because I come from a farming background as well. And, you know, there's part of me wanting to be all those things. Then I went to art school, which was a very unusual school when I was 11. It was from 11 to 16. And we had the most amazing teachers. All schools had to have religious education in those days, and it had to be Christianity. But she'd come in and explain to us how prophets and biblical figures had such a vast knowledge of natural phenomenon that when who was Moses sent like to the burning bush? That it would have been Dictymarnus purpurea, which is a lovely plant, and it has these volatile oils that it creates to actually fend off insects, but you can actually, evidently, but I've never seen it, light a match next to it and it will explode in flames. Just having that sort of teacher, and then of course going on to they were just stories anyway. Trying to shake off all the stuff that was laid on us on who and how we should be. So even though I know who and how I should be, I still get confused at this late age of my life, because it is very difficult to shake off what's instilled in you from a very young age. Shall I end it here? I think so. God, hedge trimmers, bloody country life, quiet, eh? Oh, my little old bits here.